Hi guys, my name's Taylor. I'm a holistic nutritionist here at RootWholeBody, and I wanted to thank everyone who's here in person, tuned in, as well as those of you tuned in on Facebook Live and watching the replay. I'm here today to talk about the not-so-sweet truth about sugar. RootWholeBody is offering a detox package for sugar cleansing and for detoxing from sugar in general, I guess. And I'm just here to give you kind of an introduction about it. So here we go. So did you know that the upper recommended limit of added sugar consumption as established by the World Health Organization is between 3 and 9 teaspoons daily. So that means that it's 3 teaspoons for children, 6 for women, and 9 for men. That obviously has to do with body size and their ability to process things in the liver. But regardless of age, on average, Americans consume 19.5 teaspoons of sugar every single day. That is a lot of sugar. That also just refers to refined sugars specifically. It doesn't refer to fruits or sugars that are occurring naturally in the diet. But this translates to actually 66.5 pounds annually of sugar. So that's a lot of sugar. That's like way too much sugar. The good news is, though, because it's referring to refined sugars, is that we can cut those sugars out of our bodies and out of our diets really, really easily. There are plenty of ways to do that. So in thinking about plant-based sugars, there are a couple of different groupings of sugars that I want to talk about today, just for the sake of this presentation. We have natural sugars, refined or processed sugars, and then chemical alternatives to sugars. Natural sugars are found naturally in plants, so you're going to find those in fruits and vegetables, grains, dairy, honey, maple syrup. Refined and processed sugars are sugars that may have been naturally found in plants but have been processed one step further. So you've removed all of the fiber and the liquid potentially from those plants, and you're left with just refined sugar, like granulated sugar. Beet sugar, cane sugar, those are both good examples of that. Chemical alternatives to sugars are essentially sugars that are created in a laboratory setting. So it could come from a natural plant sugar initially, but there are so many processes so many steps in processing that sort of doesn't really make it a real sugar at this point anymore. Think to like when you have a cup of iced tea out at a restaurant and they bring you a little sugar caddy. It's essentially all of those, blue and yellow and pink sugars. So when thinking about doing a sugar cleanse, it's important to note that there are multiple different types of sugars, but that there's also many different names for sugars. So it's really hard to do a sugar cleanse on your own if you don't know what all of these names are. If you are looking to do a sugar cleanse, it's my recommendation that you find out what these are so that you can appropriately remove them from your diet. Reading labels is going to be key in this instance. So I also have a background in sociology, so it's important to me to sort of take a step back and understand our relationship to sugar on a more sociological level, specifically thinking about how widely available sugar is in general. I mean, we find it everywhere. We find it in the grocery store, we find it at schools, we find it in the office, it's at restaurants, it's everywhere. And it's incredibly addictive, so the fact that it's everywhere is kind of alarming. In thinking about how addictive it actually is, scientists, researchers have compared the MRI brain scans of people who are given cocaine and those who are given sugar, and the addiction centers in the brain on both scans light up almost equally, and with sugar almost lighting up more. So that's kind of a scary thought, is that sugar is more addictive than cocaine. Another scary thought in light of that is thinking that sugar is generally accepted. There's absolutely no legal or social boundaries regarding how much sugar you can have or what age you start consuming sugar at. Think to, baby on first birthday and the parents bringing out a nice big cake for the baby. Socially, we don't see anything wrong with that, but from a health standpoint, we know that there are addictive properties of sugar and that excessive sugar consumption over the course of a lifetime can be really damaging. So those are kind of big points. And then also, with those in mind, sugar is essentially limitless in our culture. Associations like the American Heart Association and the American Association for Diabetes, they set upper recommended limits, so levels at which you're not supposed to surpass sugar consumption, but those people who have diabetes or heart disease are the ones that are expected to monitor and limit their own sugar consumption. This is really difficult because it's readily available, it's incredibly addictive, and it's generally accepted. Not to mention, it's pretty socially pushed. Think to holidays and any special events. Your mind's most likely going to go to spending time with family or friends, but also going directly to cookies and cakes and candies and treats. So it's something that is really hard to get away from, and if you don't have the social support or the professional support that you need, breaking your addiction to sugar can be really difficult. So sugar and addiction is sort of a natural biological predisposition that we have. Sugar is really nutrient dense, so of course we crave it because we need energy. Babies, when they come out of the womb, immediately are conditioned to crave sweetness because mother's breast milk is really high in sugar, naturally occurring sugar, for growth and development, but also because glucose is the major source of fuel for the brain. So I think 60% or so of ingested sugars are needed to fuel your brain when you're functioning at a normal level, which is why we need to eat sugars. We've started to engineer foods, however, to be more sweet. So we've raised the bar on that level of sweetness. We're no longer seeing people dependent on just fruits and vegetables and starches for their sugars. We see people who are craving more energy-dense foods that have a ton of sugar injected or chemical sugar injected that has raised the sweet point and conditioned our taste buds and our brain to crave that level of stimulation, which is crazy. So essentially, we're facilitating this positive feedback loop in the brain, saying, hey, this is really, really sweet. This is sweeter than anything you'll find in nature. This is awesome. It's really energy dense. And then your brain is saying, oh yeah, this is great. I have so much energy. Do this again. So you are facilitating that sort of addictive nature of sugar in your brain and in your taste buds. So what happens when you consume that much sugar on a regular basis? Well, consuming excess sugar in the body has been seen to create significant dysbiosis in the body. It can lead to anything from metabolic changes to cardiovascular disease to cancer and tumor growth. More specifically, though, metabolic changes that you're going to see just changes in your metabolism generally, probably a little bit more excess adiposity and body fat in general, maybe disordered metabolism in the sense of, in thinking about metabolic syndrome, So metabolic syndrome is where you have elevated blood pressure, you have elevated blood glucose, you have imbalanced cholesterol, and it's really going to make it hard for your body to process other foods appropriately. Liver problems are significant with excess sugar consumption as well. The liver does all of the toxic processing on the internal scheme of our bodies. So sugar is a toxin. Sugar, alcohol, our hormones, all of those things go through processing in the liver. And if you're consuming excess sugar, your liver is going to start to get really taxed. And this can lead to improper hormone processing in general. This can lead to fatty liver disease. Those unused sugars that stay in the liver are going to turn to fat and cause fatty liver disease. Again, other imbalances that you're going to see with hormone disruption could be things like diabetes. So type 1 diabetes is sugar intolerance. Type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance, another hormone. You're also going to see things like cardiovascular disease. So we're coming to understand that there's more of a relationship between sugar and cardiovascular disease than specific types of fats in cardiovascular disease. Those sugars that go unused don't just affect your liver, they actually create really tiny, dense lipids in your bloodstream that form deposits throughout your cardiovascular system, causing things like clots and congestive heart disease. Cancer and tumor growth, so that's pretty significant. Tumors are seen to have a really, really high glucose uptake. So if you are predisposed to cancer, or if your family has a history of cancer or tumor growth, I would suggest not eating any refined sugars, because it will most likely promote the growth of those tumors. You're also going to see changes in brain function, things like attention, memory span, learning, and just general brain development. But on a different note, you could potentially see the development of dementia or Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is coming to be known as the third type of diabetes. So those tau proteins that are formed in our brain are actually related to excess consumption of sugar, they're starting to find. Adrenal fatigue. So for those of you who don't know, the adrenal glands sit on your kidneys in your back. They're these little fat sacs that basically excrete hormones that allow us to have both superficial and long-standing forms of energy. And when you consume sugar, basically they're releasing a whole bunch of little amounts of that energy, those hormones that create that feeling, but it's taxing because they keep doing it. They keep releasing it sort of in an unnatural pattern. And what happens is your body comes to crave sugar, forming another one of those positive feedback loops. Your body starts to crave the sugar because it's operating at a lower level. Your adrenal glands are not functioning appropriately, and so you need that stimulus to sort of even get through your day in a normal way, like on a normal level. So again, you have sort of a feedback loop there. Changes in oral flora, you're going to see changes in bacteria in your mouth, so changes in breath. You may have poor smelling breath. You could have the development of cavities and gum disease. Changes in gut flora, which goes back to changes in brain function. We're coming to find out that bacterial colonies in your guts actually have a really strong correlation with how your brain functions. An example of this is giving probiotics to people who have anxiety and actually allowing that to sort of curb their anxiety, which is great. Dr. Perlmutter, who is a doctor who writes on the gut-brain axis, which is what that is, he's got some really interesting things to say about that. General digestive issues, so bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation, all of those unpleasant symptoms as well. And again, reaffirming that relationship between the gut and the brain, so we're seeing a lot of gut stuff. But it all basically comes down to inflammation, which is the most important point here, essentially. Our inflammatory process is a natural process that happens in the body. We need it to survive and to function when we interact with things that are not us. Our body uses inflammation as a process to protect us from pathogens and viruses and things that are external to us in our environment that could potentially cause harm. So sugar is actually seen as one of those things in the body. It's causing inflammation, and when you consume it constantly or consistently or excessively, you're going to see chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is the problem. It's not inflammation in general, because we need it. It's chronic inflammation that's going to cause, dysbioses. It's going to cause any number of the other disorders that I had mentioned previously, but also things like asthma, Crohn's disease. Again, cancer is pretty significant with inflammation. So there are a lot of negative ways in which excess sugar consumption affects the body. But there are benefits to quitting. And so weight loss as a natural side effect, with your changing metabolism and with, reduced inflammation, you're going to see weight naturally come off. Whether that means physical weight loss on a scale, like a number, or just a change in body composition, decrease in fatty deposits throughout your body, both internally and superficially. You're going to see improved quality of skin, because we'll explain a little bit more about how skin is affected by sugar consumption here in a moment. Increased energy and sleep quality, again, that's going to reaffirm weight loss. Sleeping well is a really good way to lose weight. Improved digestion and metabolism, decreased inflammation, again, that's huge. Improved mental clarity, coming back to the relationship between the gut and the brain. And then just generally reducing your dependence on sugar. I think for many people, it's really hard to not be dependent on certain substances, whether it's alcohol, whether it's caffeine, whether it's sugar. And I think that this is sort of a struggle that many of us have, and we want to be able to help you if you want to move forward from this, because obviously there are some pretty negative things that can happen to your body with repeated excessive sugar consumption. So just a quick overview on the detox process. First the liver, then the skin. So first your liver basically does all of the internal processing. So toxins that have been ingested, for example, a glass of wine, sugar and alcohol, it's ingested, your liver processes it once it's gone through the bloodstream in 2 phases. So it holds on to it first and protects it from the rest of our body, and then it attaches other chemical compounds to it to make it slightly less toxic. From there, it gets ready to expel them from the body. So the skin is super supportive of the liver. First and foremost, the skin is our largest organ, but it's also the largest organ of detoxification in the body. So when the liver is feeling strained, the skin's going to feel strained. But the skin normally supports the liver by doing excretion as well. So it's excreting some of those toxins through the skin. And again, when the liver is overworked, you're going to see more impurities in the skin. So things like blemishes or blackheads. You're also going to see higher instances of wrinkles and fine lines developing, possibly a sallow quality to the skin. So things you don't want. So sugar in the skin, just a little bit more specifically, we have collagen and elastin in our skin. Those are our natural skin proteins that give us, suppleness and make us feel youthful, or look youthful, I should say. So the relationship between sugar and these proteins, they undergo a process called glycation. So when you consume a lot of sugar, you're going to do glycation essentially on collagen and elastin and produce AGEs, which are advanced glycation end products. So these are essentially the signs of aging. These are wrinkles, these are the skin stiffening, because you're forming cross bindings in those proteins, which doesn't allow them to be as malleable and supple. Again, developing a sallow quality in the skin, and just generally development of wrinkles and fine lines. So herein we have some things that can help. Not just internally, but also topically, vitamin E and vitamin C. Both of these are really, really powerful antioxidants. They're really good for helping, work against the damage that's been done through the glycation process. But vitamin C is almost more beneficial and more necessary in this process. Again, they're both antioxidants, but vitamin E is fat soluble and we hold on to it more easily because of that. Vitamin C is actually water soluble, so you're more likely to excrete it through the skin or through the urine. It's an essential nutrient because we don't produce it, and so it's really important to consume it dietarily as well as topically. Specifically though, vitamin C is great because it promotes the synthesis of collagen and elastin specifically. So you're going to see an improved quality of skin with the use of vitamin C in general, and it helps improve the stiffness of your skin. So that's great. So what we're offering here at Roots, we're offering a couple of different things as part of our package. We have a nutrition component to our package, and then we also have a skin component because the two work together. If you're trying to detox from sugar in the body, your skin is most likely going to expel impurities as part of that process. So the nutritional component that we're offering is a 90-minute nutrition intake with me, and then a 4-week sugar detox protocol that comes with that. So we'll sit down and I'll hand you your protocol. That comes with a grocery list as well as a handful of recipes that support both detoxification and recipes that are naturally sugar-free to support your cleanse in general. Email correspondence throughout the entire thing. I want to be available to you and make sure that you have all of your questions answered. And then later on in the month, we would have a 45-minute follow-up appointment to address any other issues or to, celebrate your successes, whatever that may be. The second component that we're offering is a skin component, which works really well with the nutrition detox component. Herein, we're offering 10% off selected Eminence products. So we've partnered with Eminence, which is an organic, all plant-based skincare company. You'll have a 15-minute consultation with an esthetician to determine what your skin needs are through this process so that they can best support you. You'll also have a 90-minute vitamin C enriched facial. Again, vitamin C is really going to be important for this process for sort of undoing any damage that's already previously been done. We're going to use things like the citrus and kale C&E serum, the rosehip C&E serum, the menthol rosehip treatment. Again, lots of rosehip because rosehip is really, really dense in vitamin C, the rosehip exfoliating mask, and some other things that are probably going to be more catered to your skin type. And then again, later in the month, you'll have a 30-minute vitamin C enriched facial follow-up. So we really want to make sure that your whole process is catered to you and that you have everything that you need for the whole month process. If you have any questions or anything about this, please feel free to contact me. You can reach me on Facebook. You can also follow me on Instagram at TaylorZ_wellness. I will be doing this cleanse starting on Monday, and I will be blogging every week about my experience. So if you are doing this cleanse and you feel like you want a little support, you want to make sure that you're not the only person who's going through X, Y, or Z, I will be here sharing all of my dirty details with you. Also, you can feel free to contact RootWholeBody for scheduling. Our website is just RootWholeBody.com. We're also opening a Northwest location here soon in May. And they will have even more opportunity for nutrition and detox and other services. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to contact me or Root. And thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day.